Thank you fellas for the support on my girthy ass Far Cry 6 review. Leave a comment as per usual to be featured in my next video, and a fat thank you to my glorious patrons Stin, Dotman, Jesse, Brian, Angel, and the Foe 3. And like last time, spoilers ahead, so if you want to get a spoiler-free Far Cry 3 review, as well as spoiler-free coverage of the Far Cry 6 DLC, I'd get out immediately. Enjoy the film. So with that post-credit scene in Far Cry 6 and the release of a certain DLC recently that I'll get into later in the video, I figured there was no better time for me to go back and finally check out all the hype behind the all-time classic Far Cry 3. As I said in my Far Cry 6 review, I've only played Far Cry Primal, 5, New Dawn, and now 6 of course. I know the general consensus seems to be that Far Cry 3 is the peak of the series and that every game afterwards is sort of like the same game but with a different coat of paint, in the sense that there's not much innovation. Far Cry 3 seems to be where Ubisoft found what obviously worked and figured from here if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it was very interesting for me coming into Far Cry 3 as a newcomer after seeing what many people claim in a way the series stagnated or even devolved into following this entry. So what do I think? Does Far Cry 3 deserve to maintain its legendary status? Well, you saw the title. Far Cry 3 has you play as Jason Brody, and the game begins with you on vacation with your brothers and friends as you celebrate your little brother Riley getting his pilot license. During the trip, they end up going skydiving over what they are told to be the remote Rook Islands. But when they land on the ground, they get ambushed by pirates and are brought back to the pirate leader Vaas's camp, where he explains that he'll be selling them all off into slavery. Well, let's get right into it. Vaas is the big draw for the game, right? He is a legendary villain, so I was really excited to experience him for the first time after hearing so much about him for nearly the last decade. And I can definitely see why he's held in such high regard. He is the best Far Cry villain I've had the pleasure of meeting so far.
You see, the thing is, up there, you thought you had a chance. Way up in the fucking skies, you thought you had your finger on the pussy trigger. But hermano, down here. Down here. You hit the ground.
From his mannerisms to his dialect, the way he completely snaps from calm and collected to raging like a banshee. His charisma is off the charts, and I felt genuine fear when he was around. I thought he was gonna jump through the screen and slit my throat. Shame he's only on screen for like 12 minutes the whole game, but he certainly makes a lasting impression. After Vaas goes to deal with some other hostages, your brother Grant breaks you out of the cage, and together you attempt to escape the prison camp, and as the older brother and military experienced man, Grant leads the charge. You pick up some supplies and grab your stuff, and there's even a moment where Grant kills a guard and Jason goes into a panic, which I thought was a nice touch and makes Jason's transformation as the game progresses feel all the more drastic. As they look over a map and try to figure out where the rest of their friends are taken, Vaas shoots and kills Grant, and then Vaas tells Jason to make a run for it as his army chases Jason down through the jungle. When Jason attempts to make a run for it across a bridge overlapping a river, it collapses, and as the current carries him, he's rescued by a man named Dennis who gives you the tatau, not a tattoo. There's a difference. One of the things I really love about Far Cry 3 is the survivalist, tribalistic aura around the game. Far Cry 6 was more of a military operation, building your army to overthrow the government, which was great in its own right. Here, you feel like a one-man wrecking crew rising through the ranks, tower by tower, outpost by outpost, conquering the land and killing off Vaas's entire crew one by one in your relentless quest to avenge your brother's death, as well as to save your friends, those of which who are still alive anyway. This is like what I was saying earlier. Each Far Cry game to me has its own identity, but it's just a different spin on similar concepts. But now having played 3, I do think this is the pinnacle where everything just came together wonderfully overall, though each game does do some things better than others. I really don't think there's a huge gap between any of them. Except New Dawn. But as I was saying earlier, you can go climbing around activating radio towers, which will identify a certain perimeter of the map, provide you with free weapons at shops, as well as activate supply drop quests where you race to a certain location under a time limit and get paid for it. There's of course enemy outposts where you can pick off guys from afar one by one, go in guns blazing, or just release a fucking bear to do your dirty work. There's plenty of other side quests to tackle, like Wanted Dead missions, which are some Dark Brotherhood bounty shit where you have to specifically melee kill commanders for money, as using a knife is Rakyat tradition. Then there are the trials of the Rakyat, where you have to kill as many enemies as possible under a time limit, which were okay, I guess. I didn't really care about them. And if you're wondering what the hell a yak rat is, don't worry, I'll get to that soon. More side quests include Path of the Hunter missions, where you have to hunt down specific animals for money, like this golden tiger. And you can use its hide to craft yourself an extra large ammo pouch. Again, stuff like this, I only really got to experience in Far Cry Primal, which was actually my introduction to the series, so I kind of feel nostalgic for it. Far Cry 5 onward, you just kind of had to find stuff or buy stuff, but scavenging from creatures and plants adds to the survival aspect, and I love that. As I said, you can also collect foliage around the Rook Islands that you can use to craft syringes, like ones that increase your health or buff your hunting senses temporarily. And with more animal hides, you can craft other items like weapon holsters so you can carry more gear with you, wallets to carry more cash, loot rucksacks so you can carry more plants and hides and other miscellaneous items in your inventory. There's so much depth to the gameplay. Remember how I mentioned the tatao you get from Dennis? Well, the tatao represents all the strength and skills you'll acquire along your journey. As you complete quests and level up throughout the campaign, you'll earn skill points which will enable you to learn special abilities. The skill tree is broken up into 3 categories: the heron, the shark, and the spider by Weezer.
Cowboy shit!
With each classification focusing on different forms of takedowns, survival abilities, mobility, and more. And every time you make an upgrade, the tatao on Jason's arm will grow larger and correspond to the type of skill you just learned. The fact that what you learn physically manifests itself on Jason is such a cool detail. However, all the skills you acquire aren't enough, as you must befriend the Rakyat leader Citra, who is actually Vaas's sister and is somehow even crazier than Vaas. The Rakyat are a tribe of warriors indigenous to the Rook Islands, and Citra promises to make you into a true warrior as long as you retrieve for her. I mean, she is a whore, fuck her. So long as you retrieve for her the lost silver dragon dagger. The only problem is there's this prick Buck who bought one of your friends and is only willing to let your friend go so long as you bring the knife to him instead. Although he's like the 3rd most important villain in the game, I found Buck to be incredibly hateable. Honestly, even more than Vaas.
I'm here for my friend, Keith.
Sorry, doesn't ring a bell.
You bought him from Hoyt.
Ah, him. He said his name was...
I mean, okay, that was funny, but also fuck you. Anyway, once you finally retrieve the knife after a series of searches, you head over to Buck's house to make the exchange for Keith, and you find him in the basement on a bed completely shaken. Just as you're about to leave, Buck taunts you very creepily.
Yeah, look, about that, mate. I am grateful, right? And, I'd really like to show my appreciation, you know. Proper, like a man should.
You said we could leave, you fuck!
No. Actually, what I said was, Keith could leave with you, but you're not going anywhere.
We're walking through that
You
door.
are what I say you are. I'll take you bloody if you like. I like my meat rare.
This leads to a knife fight with Buck.
He's some fucked up ball player.
Shut the fuck up. Oh man, it was satisfying to kill this fucking scumbag, especially considering what I'm sure we can all presume he did to Keith.
So his name is Buck, and he lacks the
Oh my god, if that isn't the most fucked up foreshadowing I've ever heard. Although I think Vaas is amazing, I found Buck to be far more disturbing. Vaas might sell you into slavery, but Buck's the kind of guy you'd have to deal with purchasing you on the other side. Really an unsettlingly genius way of showing just how in danger your friends are here. There are not many villains I ever wanted to see dead so badly, but Buck was definitely one of them. However, as a fantastic consolation prize for putting up with this snotty piece of shit, the treasure hunts Buck sent me on to find the Silver Dragon Dagger were my favorite missions throughout the whole game. You infiltrate a ship off the coast of the islands to find a compass leading to the knife, but before escaping, things quickly go south as the ship begins to sink and you make a tense getaway. Next, you venture down into an old Japanese bunker, leading to massive ancient Chinese ruins. After you find the next piece of the compass, you make your way to an abandoned mine shaft, which leads to more Chinese ruins, which are even more impressive than the last, with a gigantic Chinese temple at the bottom of the abyss where you find the 3rd and final part to the compass. The compass leads to the last series of Chinese ruins where you continue to venture further and further into the earth before finally reaching a tomb entrance where you find the knife. And then we kill the sick fuck Buck, thank fuck. Quickly moving on, let's talk about my favorite missions. Whoa! The first of my favorite goes to when you head out to Sunset Cove, the alleged location your friends have been taken to, only to be captured by Vaas again. But this time your girlfriend Lisa and one of your other friends are there too, though Vaas and his right-hand man take him away before setting the place on fire. The floor collapses and you have to race your way back up to the top floor to save your girlfriend from being consumed by the inferno.
No, I can't do this! It's the only way down, come on! Oh my god!
Together, you race to freedom as you obliterate enemy trucks pursuing you, and the banter between Jason and Lisa along the way was pretty funny.
Heads at 10 and 2, 10 and 2.
You wanna drive?
Why did you turn off the truck?
No! It died!
Jiggle the key to press the pedal.
What does that even mean?
In another mission, you go on a drug trip, of course, when you meet Citra, which prophesizes future events that'll unfold throughout the game. Afterwards, one of the prophecies is immediately fulfilled as you tail the man in white you saw in your visions throughout Bad Town. Yes, this place is actually called Bad Town, and the developers know it's a bad name. After tailing the stranger to this shack, shit goes from 1 to 100 fast.
You have 10 seconds to tell me who you are before I remotely detonate the C4 under the table and this whole place explodes like a pop bottle.
Jesus.
I doubt it. 5 seconds.
The guy turns out to be a CIA operative named Willis Huntley, and it's his job to know the islands inside and out, and as such, he's figuring out where Vaas has taken your friends. Willis also tells you about Vaas's boss, Hoyt Volker, the true head of the pirate operation, and furthermore, the largest drug and human trafficking ring in the South Pacific. Later on, Willis lets you in on a recording between Hoyt and Vaas.
By the way, you're getting popular.
Lovely weather we're having. My boss, are you planning a parade?
That's why I love you, Vaas. You make me laugh. Everything in business is so goddamn serious. But you, sir, what about Snow White?
You know what? I don't give a fuck about him. I don't give a fuck.
Really? Then why am I here?
Once you've got the ransom money, his friends are gonna be sold like that. I shot his older brother. I did what you wanted with his younger brother. He's my sister. She's inking that white boy.
I don't give a fuck about your family. It is by my grace that your head isn't impaled on the antenna of my car. Therefore, I would like it if you gave a fuck about Jason Brody.
Okay, Hoyt. Okay. Alright.
What's interesting about Vaas in this recording is that he's much more mellow than any encounters you've shared with him so far, which could indicate that he acts so over the top to assert dominance. However, Hoyt also seems to be the only person that Vaas seems to fear, so it could also just be that. The interaction directly reveals the location of your friend Oliver, so you can rescue him, which happens to be another of my favorite missions. But I mean, besides the sniping part in the first half having to escort him, the second half is basically the same as the mission rescuing Lisa. It's fun blowing shit up, what can I say? And now, it's time for the mission where that speech happens. I know plenty of people have heard it, but who cares? We're gonna watch the whole thing anyway because it's that damn good and it's incredibly crucial to the narrative.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy. But the first time somebody told me that, I don't know, I thought they were bullshitting me, so boom, I shot him. The thing is, okay, he was right. And then I started seeing it everywhere I looked, all these fucking pricks. Everywhere I looked, doing the exact same fucking thing. Over and over and over and over and over again. Thinking, this time, he's gonna be different. No, please. This time, he's gonna be different. I'm sorry. I don't like the way you are looking at me. Okay? You have a fucking problem in your head. Do you think I'm bullshitting you? Do you think I'm lying? Fuck you! Okay? Fuck you! It's okay, man. I'm gonna chill, hermano. I'm gonna chill. The thing is, alright? The thing is, I killed you once already. And it's not like I am fucking crazy. It's okay. It's like water under the bridge. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, fuck you!
I love how as Vaas gives this monologue, you can see other pirates in the background dealing with another civilian. It makes the scene all the more sinister. And the way Vaas gives that whole speech, and then it's like his memory was wiped clean. His face goes blank, and he asks you again.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
The visuals, the acting, it's perfect. The irony is that Vaas refuses to accept himself being crazy, preaching about how everybody else is, but him, no way.
No way! I don't think so, pal.
He denies that Jason even is still alive because he killed him once already. Having to try and kill him again and again only proves his own insanity, doing the same thing and expecting shit to change, just as on the flip side, Jason keeps escaping and trying to get revenge but failing over and over again, expecting shit to change. Vaas seems to be in denial of his insanity, but Jason isn't even aware of his yet. I've also got to mention the way Vaas so nonchalantly says he thought the person who told him the definition of insanity was bullshit, so he just shot him. That was great. Anyway, so after falling into the pit of water, you somehow free yourself and attempt to make an escape in a helicopter down the road, only for it to be shot down. Again, you somehow survive, but as you regain consciousness, Vaas eerily creeps towards you. Before again...
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Somehow, you survive again! Waking up and digging yourself through a pile of dead bodies, which was horrific. You survived because Vaas gave you one of his crappy lighters that wouldn't work when he tried to burn you alive earlier, and now it just blocked a gunshot. Jason has literal plot armor. After going on another drug trip where you slay a giant monster and have the sex, you then infiltrate Vaas's compound, but he somehow knew you were coming.
I come to make an announcement.
Jason Brody.
He's a bitch-ass motherfucker.
Once you've killed his men, you run into a warehouse where Vaas is waiting for you and he impales you, sending you into another trip. I mean, at this point, my mind has just been completely blown for like the last 3 hours at how amazing this game has been, and this is where it peaks. This was probably my favorite scene from any game I've ever played. The music, the dialogue, the visual metaphors and symbolism all around is absolutely masterful. Vaas knows the warrior path that Jason is being led down by Citra is horrible. He would know, he's walked it before, and Vaas knows he's fucked, just like he knows Jason is now. Vaas may be dead, but as he collapses to the floor and locks eyes with you one last time, it symbolizes precisely what he was proclaiming, his rebirth.
You are me.
Even after killing Vaas, effectively avenging his brother, and also having saved his friends who are now ready to return home with a boat geared to go, although his little brother Riley hasn't been recovered yet because he's thought to be dead, Jason tells them he'll be staying on the Rook Islands because he feels this is his home now. Lisa expressed concerns earlier on that this whole thing seems to be changing him. The fact that he's got not tattoos, you fucking idiot. The way he seems to enjoy the thrill of blowing shit up, and especially concerning is the fact he straight up says killing people used to feel wrong, but now feels like winning. I mean, to be fair, that was pretty fucking sick. Hello, it's like midnight as I'm recording this, so sorry for the bit of ASMR voice, but as I was going through footage, I found part of this cutscene with Willis that I forgot about, which also foreshadows Jason losing his sanity.
Hey, you ever go out on recon with your guys?
No. There's a reason I have the American flag in here. In here, there's society, there's order. Out there, the jungle, the synapses in our brains go dark little by little. You forget where you're from, who you are.
This is what it feels like to take control of his life for what feels like the first time. This is his higher purpose now. That's a bit fucked, isn't it? Vaas may be a monster, but he isn't anything that Jason can't become. That Jason isn't already becoming. Vaas was driven to insanity by Citra, and we get a lot more clarification on this with the Far Cry 6 DLC. But before we get to that, let's wrap up Far Cry 3.
When I initially auditioned for Ubisoft, the character of Vaas did not exist. The part was initially written as 6'6", 280 pounds, very sociopathic, stoic, unemotional. And I took leave it with it, and I gave him anything but what they were looking for. And obviously, I did not get the part. But I get a call a few weeks later saying, Ubisoft liked your audition so much, they're creating this small character based on the audition you had done.
How cool that a small character turned out to be one of the greatest video game villains of all time. Because of Vaas's legendary status he's attained in the gaming world, it made things that much more surprising to me when his boss Hoyt Volker was introduced. I realized that Vaas probably wasn't going to be the end-all be-all for Far Cry 3's story after all, which really shocked me because I never heard anybody ever bring up this Hoyt chump before. Like, look up articles ranking Far Cry's villains, they just talk about Vaas. No Hoyt, even though he's actually the main villain, which which was worrisome, cause I was like, well, clearly he must not live up to Vaas for most people if he's not even worth mentioning. Just how bad is he? Honestly, not bad at all. In fact, I think he's fucking great in a completely different way from Vaas. The final third of the game has you teaming up with this German dude Sam, who's an associate of Willis Huntley, who helps you infiltrate Hoyt's personal army, the Privateers. And in doing so, we get a taste up close and personal of just how evil Volker truly is.
First, protect my product. You can fuck them, boys, but be gentle. Second, kill any native on sight. Finally, all profits go to me. I'm an understanding boss. But if you break one of these rules,
water is, it's called mud.
I roast you in the furnace until your skin crackles like a chicken.
Jeez, bud, really giving a whole new meaning to getting fired. Hoyt is completely psychotic, seeing everyone and everything as nothing more than puppets on string to do his bidding and product to be sold. And although Citra is largely responsible for Vaas's descent into madness, it is the drugs and money and proposition of power he got from working for Volker in the end that put the final nail in his mental coffin. Hoyt is the one who caused Vaas to completely lose his mind. While working under the Foster alias, you end up meeting with Hoyt one-on-one, and I found this interaction absolutely fascinating. The way Hoyt compares the universality of the 123 on contact lenses to his global slave trade is pretty astonishing. And then he proceeds to obliterate a ship full of captives with the press of a button while Bryan Danielson's theme song plays. There's a lot more I have to say about this interaction, but I'll swing back to it when it makes more sense. After the meeting, he sends you downstairs to interrogate a prisoner. Before you make your way to the cell, you can actually see one of Hoyt's men viewing footage of your capture, which kind of raises the question, as Jason has seen in the video, how doesn't Hoyt recognize Jason during their meeting? But we'll get to that. When the cell opens up, I was very surprised to find Jason's little brother Riley alive and not well, but alive nonetheless. The most tragic thing though is your interaction is being recorded and Hoyt is watching, so you have to torture your little brother Riley to pretend you have no affiliation to him to keep Hoyt from getting suspicious, which was really brutal. This is a crucial turning point for Jason's character. He has killed countless people up to this point and takes pleasure in doing so, and especially because of Citra's corruption, believes he has found his life's purpose on the Rook Islands. But finding his little brother alive after all helps him to finally realize that he's completely lost himself in the process because of everything.
Who have I become?
Eventually, you and Sam meet with Hoyt for a poker game to discuss business. You plan to assassinate Hoyt, but he gets the jump on you and stabs Sammy in the throat. This is where Volker reveals that he was onto you all along. And I think this is where I love Hoyt's character. He's the kind of villain you really appreciate in hindsight. Every line you go back to ends up having a deeper meaning to it. From the way he says cancer won't be the thing that kills you after you deny having a smoke with him. He mentions that you jump from job to job and can't commit, which is his way of saying as clearly as possible without blatantly saying it, I know you're a traitor and I'm gonna kill you. And on top of that, he's even right in making that assessment on the version of Jason prior to the events of Far Cry 3, as it's implied Jason was directionless in life, jumping from job to job after finishing college. Then there's that obnoxious clap after interrogating your brother, which almost seems to be mocking you. And even when you play poker together, you can hear the rage bubbling under the surface when he makes a remark about Sam.
What a job. Poker. Ask anyone on the street and they'll call it a game of chance. Or talk to Sam here and he'll say it's about bluffing. Weren't you, Sam?
And of course, this interaction speaks volumes as well.
So, hobbies. Cooking, painting, movies, crystal meth. What are yours?
I like to hunt.
I'm a hunter myself. The noblest of professions. But you know, I like to hunt real game.
As a fellow hunter and absolute power-driven egomaniac, Volker probably seeks the thrill of taking down the biggest predator on the island, the biggest threat to his operation. He puts a hit on Jason Brody and in the process lures Jason right to him, while also arrogantly letting Jace build himself up, make himself as strong as possible, give him a false sense of hope and let him prove himself worthy of dying at Hoyt's hand. This whole time you've been going around the island sabotaging his operation thinking you have to jump on him, when in reality, Hoyt just lets you think you're so good and so smart just to tear you down in the end. I mean, Sam and Jason thought it would work, but the whole time I was like, Hoyt is so onto you, you fucking idiots. The way Hoyt screams at you.
How stupid do you think I am?
I felt like genuine shame? Even though I knew he was definitely onto us, he just makes me feel so stupid for even trying to dupe him. It's great. Also, I love Hoyt's line after stabbing Sam. He's such an asshole.
We should keep playing. Dealer's on the left, right? Guess he's sitting this one out.
I get why he doesn't receive the same recognition Vaas does, but he deserves far more praise than he gets. Hoyt is fantastic. After killing Sam, Hoyt uses the same blood-soaked knife to cut off one of your fingers. This leads to the third and final melee duel of the game. During the fight, Hoyt ends up telling you that Riley's about to be shipped off to somebody in Yemen who likes him young. Deservedly so, we stab him several times, and after coming out of the adrenaline-fueled trance, we find Hoyt and several of his men's corpses sprawled across the room. From here, you race off to get Riley before he's shipped away, and your friends who are still on the island reach out to you reporting that they're being kidnapped again.
Jason, where are you? They're taking us. I don't know where. We need your help.
What? I can't hear you.
As fast as you can.
What the fuck?
You eventually reach the airstrip and rescue Riley. I thought it was really cool how Riley getting his pilot license is the reason this whole adventure started, and Riley ends up using his skills to get us out of it. Well, he got a license to fly planes, not helicopters, but it works out in the end. We hit the ground, but finally we're soaring through the skies once again, with Danielson's theme blasting once again, and it's fucking extraordinary. However, when you go back to your friend's hideout, you find that their caretaker, Dr. Earnhardt, and I use that term very loosely, on the verge of death, but before he passes, he's able to utter that your friends have been taken to Citra's temple. By this point, Citra has fallen in love with you for the unstoppable killing machine you've become and wants you to impregnate her so that she can produce the perfect warrior to lead the Rook Islands in the years to come, which is the exact insane shit she tried pulling with her brother. Here, Citra sends you on one final glorious drug trip, hallucinating your friends calling you a piece of shit, and when you come out of the trip, you've got a knife to Lisa's neck where you have to make the choice of killing her and joining Citra to fulfill your supposed destiny, or you can save your friends and escape the island, which I chose to do without hesitation because Citra's a fucking prick. And would you look at that? Vaas literally told you this would happen.
So they say to me, they say, Vaas, who the fuck is it going to be? Them or me? Me or them?
Dennis gets pissed as he feels you're betraying the Rockette and attempts to murder you, but Citra jumps in the way and gets stabbed instead. And dies. Nobody is sad.
Fuck you!
The boat takes off as Jason and friends leave the island, although Grant is dead and this other dude was just never seen again.
Do you want me to slice you open like I did your friend?
Oh. In essence, either ending you choose is pretty much a bad ending, even though Citra's ending is definitely badder since you kill your friends and then she fucks and kills you.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
But in this much more bittersweet end, you escape. However, what happened on those islands is nothing Jason's mind can ever truly escape from.
I've killed so many people, I've lost count. I can't come back from this. I'm a monster. I can feel the anger inside me. But I am still somewhere inside me more than that. Better than that.
In the process of trying to slay monsters, Jason has become one himself, but at least he's still sane enough to recognize that, and that gives just enough hope that, yeah, maybe he can come back from this and be better after all. Maybe he's not too far gone. Alexa, cue Rick Grimes' Too Far Gone speech. No! With Jason's cycle of insanity broken, there is still one left to take care of.
It's not the anger, it's the inner child underneath it all. That's the character. He's really not trying to hurt anybody, and his understanding of pain is completely like just not there. He doesn't speak to himself politely, doesn't speak to others. He's destroyed. He's a guy who's completely gone.
So they say to me, they say, Vaas, who the fuck is it going to be? Them or me? Me or them?
But underneath it all, he's a human. And before it all, he's a child. And with Vaas as a character, if you go back to the child, you immediately find the character.
In the Far Cry 6 DLC, you play as Vaas in his mind as you fight to overcome your inner demons, unlock repressed memories, and ultimately put an end to Vaas's endless cycle of insanity by bringing the pieces of the Silver Dragon Blade to Citra to earn her approval. It's crazy how... sorry, no pun intended. The DLC starts and that Far Cry 3 music kicks in, and I already feel nostalgic for it even though I just finished that game for the first time like 2 days before playing this. Also, gotta love how the DLC starts with Jason saying peekaboo motherfucker, just like Vaas did when he stabs Jason in Far Cry 3.
Peekaboo motherfucker. Peekaboo motherfucker.
More of that you are me and I am you symmetry at play. As for the gameplay, it's pretty simple but extremely fun. You earn points by looting chests and killing as many enemies as possible, and use the cash you attain to buy perks in the mirror or upgrade weapons you find on the island at safe house armories. To get better weapons, you have to complete trials, and you can also do trials for some really nice temporary perks which can give you an extra life, because if you die, you lose your progress, have to restart the DLC, and do it all over again. You know, because you're insane. And you can also find diary entries from Vaas for even more info on him. Of course, since you're in Vaas's fractured psyche, you're taunted by Citra and Jason Brody a lot, the latter of which you have to kill like 100 times. In Far Cry 3, during the mission where you rescue Lisa, Vaas gives this incredible speech where it almost seems like he's trying to relate Jason's anger from the murder of his brother Grant to his own feeling of being betrayed by Citra for being made to feel like no matter what he did for her, it was never enough. Like this is a confession of his own pain and insanity, and in a twisted way, looking to Jason's suffering for guidance so that he won't feel so isolated. And for the record, I actually like this speech more than the insanity one.
I'm gonna drive a bullet through my sister's skull, like I did your brother Grant. Fuck you. You are angry, Jason. You are angry. Okay, I get that. I get it. I mean, without family, who the fuck are we? There was a time where I'd do anything for my sister. You know, first time I ever killed was for my sister. It was not enough for her. No, please. You see, the thing about our loved ones, right? Our fucking loved ones! They come and they blindside you every fucking time. So they say to me, they say, Vaas, who the fuck is it going to be? Them or me? Me or them? like, you know, like they fucking think that I need to make a fucking choice. By the way, this lighter really sucks. You know, so much for poetics. It's really too bad that Citra had to hook you up. Because now the only way to kill you is to erase you completely. Shh. It's okay. Don't worry. It's okay. Jason, I swear to God, man, it's truly beautiful that you're willing to die for the one you love.
As I said, Vaas was truly driven to insanity and gaslit by his sister from the time they were kids, and the DLC makes that as clear as ever, as well as making sure to blatantly showcase the symmetry between Jason and Vaas. Citra is the true villain here, and plays a massive role in both their downfalls. Her relentless love for the Rakyat mythology and drive to conceive the perfect Rakyat warrior to command the Rook Islands has driven her more insane than anybody. And ironically, depending on the ending you choose, her insane dedication to fulfill this prophecy of hers is ultimately what leads to the Rakyat's doom. Citra's corruption and manipulation of Jason is in the same vein as to what gave birth to the monstrous Vaas. It's a perfect storm for insanity.
And it's not like I am fucking crazy. It's okay. It's like water under the bridge.
This mission was a total mindfuck, hence the name, and easily my favorite part of the DLC. The mimicking of the infamous insanity scene, but with the roles reversed. You go through this trip listening to Vaas recite the definition of insanity speech, proving his own point. Oh, and he even makes a PT reference, which was pretty cool.
Fuck yeah, this reminds me of the game. Wait, what's that, the trailer with the fucking, with the hallway? What the fuck ever happened to that?
Then you make your way into the same hotel from Far Cry 3 that Jason and Lisa escaped from, and the walls are painted in blood with various Vaas quotes, and you go room to room watching flashbacks of Vaas's time with the Rakyat, visions of Citra, visions of yourself, and visions of, you guessed it, killing Jason. There's even a mission where you're talking with pirates who are planning to take the land from the natives, but Vaas protests as he and even some of the other pirates are native to the Rook Islands, and then proclaims he'll be starting a war with Hoyt. I guess before this chat he didn't know Hoyt was into that shit. shit. There's so much great attention to detail and flashbacks here and all throughout the DLC. You just have to check it out for yourself. It's wonderful. The DLC concludes with you assembling the Silver Dragon Blade, presenting it to Citra, only for her to give you a big ol' fuck you as she asks you to prove your devotion to her one last time, as she sends wave after wave of enemies and Jason Brodies for you to kill. Once you get through a certain amount of rounds, you can tell Citra to fuck off and leave your mind, or you can stay behind and keep fighting to prove your worth to her. I just chose to leave after the 8th round because I was like, Vaas doesn't have anything to prove to this scumbag. The only problem is when you leave, he says,
I made it, but I might be able to achieve maybe a higher level of enlightenment if I go back for more.
Oh. Shit. So there's 2 other endings you can get where you do choose to stay and fight, and after clearing 20 waves of enemies, you're able to finally move beyond your past, having proved your strength to Citra and yourself. And then there's a 3rd ending where I believe if you complete the DLC on the highest difficulty, you'll see that Vaas is alive and finally at peace, which was heavily implied with the post-credits conversation of Far Cry 6. The biggest question now is, how exactly did Vaas survive? Well, the thing is, when you fight Buck and Hoyt, you come out of your trance-like state and you reawaken to find the body of your enemy on the floor. However, the fight with Vaas is way more trippy, and after the fight is over, you're immediately teleported to Citra's temple. You never see Vaas's body. And right before the fight begins and you fade into your presumably drug-induced state, you can see Vaas walking away. So it seems to me that when you appear to get stabbed with a silver dragon that Vaas somehow has, he actually drugged you. And the other fights with Buck and Hoyt, it seems like Jason goes into this adrenaline-driven rage, nothing drug-induced. So maybe after Vaas drugs you, he escapes to Yara and becomes a smuggler of Avira with his little tennis ball friend, having fully come to peace with himself, his failures, his imperfection, and his insanity. Almost like he left the old Vaas behind with Jason. Hopefully Jason has found a way to do the same.
Have I ever told you the definition of insanity is? Have I?
Who the fuck is it going to be? Dan or me? Me or Dan? Come on! He fucking coffee!
Sad little boy. Never will I need you. What I want, who with me will command the destiny of the Regardant. You're out of control. A rabid dog.
Shut the fuck up! Fuck you! Okay, fuck you! Pick it, motherfucker.
Hey, Citra, fuck off!